Welcome back to the show. This is Closing the Circuit, and my name is Dantrell Felton, a master electrician with over 20 years of experience in the industry. This is a show where we aim to not just teach the skills, but teach how to maneuver in the industry because maneuvering is almost as important as the skills. Now, on today's episode, we want to talk about the big question. And this has been a big question, I want to say, for the last couple of years. But in this year, 2026, students are getting to the line and there's a fork in the road and they feel like they have to make a decision. Will I go to college or will I get into the trades? And that's a very, very important decision for a young person, probably 18 to make. And I just want to give my experience as someone who went straight into the trades, but also left and went back to college. Now, we have heard the headlines over and over and over again. There's a huge need and there's a huge demand for electrical professionals in our industry. We have so many professionals retiring and aging out, and we don't have enough young people to replace them. This is true. In this industry, there's usually boom and bust cycles where the demand has been met and there is no hiring. And then years later, there is not enough supply for anybody. And most of these companies are scrambling and trying to figure out how to keep their rosters full. Well, not only are we in that part of the cycle, but we have one more added caveat. There's new technology afoot. And the demand for this technology puts electrical workers and electrical infrastructure right at the epicenter. So now the question is, do students go to college or do students jump right into the trades? Now, I can understand there is some apprehension about going to college to fulfill some of these needs after the last 5 years of the coding boom and bust cycle. There was a huge need for people to learn coding and come in and become computer science majors and data analysts. And then around 2023, the emergence of AI showed that the demand will not necessarily meet the supply. And I think that put a lot of people off, not just college, but just being super weary of where to go in these times where you just don't know what the hiring landscape or the job landscape will look like. But what did hold true is there always has been a need for tradespeople, and there always will be a need for tradespeople. And even with the threat of AI and robotics, I can assure you, being replaced by some kind of technology is probably very, very far down the road. And that's a conversation for a whole nother day. Now, with the I would say spotlight being on trades in the last couple of years, there's been a big push and a big push from a lot of people who aren't in the trades telling you, hey, that plumber down the street that you knew, or your uncle who was an electrician, or your friend who left and went into HVAC, they're doing pretty well for themselves. They're making six figures. This is a better way to go. And I think the issue is the messenger. A lot of the more savvy people on social media are the ones telling you and pushing you in the direction of going to the trades and telling you to forget all about college. Now, a very important part about receiving a message is trusting the messenger. I would like to say. Mark Zuckerberg, I don't think is the person qualified, even though he will be hiring some of these people, qualified to tell you to, not go to college, not to seek higher education, but go into the trades. Now, I'm just using Mark Zuckerberg as a placeholder name. He's done great with his business, but to see someone who's not a trades person tell you to get into the trades and skip college, I think it's better you hear from somebody like myself. So, long story short, I entered into the trades at 16 years old. I'm an electrician, but I did distribution line work by trade. So that's power distribution. That's the power lines that you see overhead when you drive by, and they come into your homes and they go into business. That's the field that I started in when I was 16 years old. Learn how to climb poles, studied for 2 years, my last 2 years of high school, graduated, and became an apprentice lineman. Throughout my career, I did overhead line work, underground line work, meter work. I worked with the union. I traveled for storms, doing some emergency management work, you name it. Had a full career by the time I was, I want to say maybe 32, 33, retired, and I left to pursue higher education. Now, why did I choose to pursue higher education at that age? Well, I had already did 15 plus years. And my path and where I wanted to go with my future would require higher education. There is a bottleneck if you ever wanted to switch over to management or the business side of things, that you're going to have to enhance your skills, and it's not going to be just another certificate or another license. You're going to have to get some formal training. And I had made that decision not quick. I knew I would do it at some point, but I knew that was the time for me to transition, move on, and I would also pursue my master's license so I can get my business started. But this was, I want to say, maybe 15, 16, 17 years later, deep into the career. So I went out and got the skills needed first. So I would say one way to look at it is, what is your lowest barrier of entry to success? Some of the things you have to take into account are, where are you now? What is your family situation? What is your financial situation? For those who started out with a higher need to start making money fast, then I would say trades would be the way to go. If you need to help take care of your family, take care of yourself, and you don't necessarily have the time to wait to get a 4-year degree and do all these internships, then I would say start with trades. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not something to be looked down on or frowned about. What people don't get about people in the trades, to do really well in the trades, you have to be not only be a smart person, but you're going to be highly educated, because to scale your abilities, you're constantly testing, constantly recertifying, and constantly studying throughout the course of your career. So going into trades, it by no means is an escape from the hard work that you would need to do. Unless you want to stay on the lower end or the lower part of the totem in your trade, then by all means, then you probably won't be pursuing higher education. But if you plan on being a journeyman or a master or an inspector, plans examiner, a building official, you name it, you're constantly studying and aiming higher when it comes to education. Now, when I was in the beginning parts of my career, there was a little part of me that did want to go to college, and that stuck around with me for years. And I tried a couple times before, but I had to pick the right season of my life to go back to school. The difference, I would say, is the way I went about it was, I got some real life hands-on experience before I went to college to properly choose my path. And by no means did I pick the right path right away. It was me having an idea of what direction I was going in, and then I continued to narrow it down. I'm even narrowing it down to this day. I'm still refining my direction. But I had already made a name for myself, and I had already developed some skills in a particular industry, that whatever I would do in school, I could make that apply to it. I didn't do a hard pivot and spend all these years in the electrical industry and then go study art. No. I studied economics first, and I'm currently at Florida International University. I pivoted away from economics, and now I'm in emergency disaster management, which is highly aligned with what I did as a line worker. and studying public policy because I work in the municipal space in a city in my county. One of the drawbacks of going straight to school first is you really don't know what your is, um, and it costs you every second you make, every second you take, to understand which direction you need to go in. Um, Pivots are costly. School costs, the time uh that you take to realize you may not be in the right space, everything costs. And that's not a deterrent, but if you have no direction, then I would say it would be good not only just the trades, if you took a job at a bank or any kind of job, if you explored the world and kind of figured out what you liked first, I would honestly say that is a better way to go. Now, when it comes to the trades, you would find a shop, come in as a trainee or a laborer or, an apprentice, depending on the situation. And you have the time to learn while you earn. And that's one of the buzzwords, learn while you earn, and figure out, is this right for you? And it's not about just the work that you're doing that day. Like if you're pulling cable or you're making splices or you're doing a specific task. But while you're in the shop, you might meet somebody in accounting, and you might meet somebody in marketing, or you might meet somebody in sales. Within that industry, you can still pivot around and figure out what's meant for you. Now, if the actual trade part of the job works out, which I encourage, you could pursue that. But at least you can get your feet wet in the industry and understand, hey, is this an industry that I would even want to spend 20, 30, 40 years of my life in? Now, the question is college obsolete, outdated, not the route to go? I would say a resounding no. That is also a message that I'm highly concerned about because I still want to see tradespeople become smarter, become more technologically savvy, to understand the technologies that are emerging, to figure out where do we fit in. And that's important that we have people who understand the work we do, continue to help us adapt in those spaces, if that makes sense. Uh, Also, becoming a contractor and a business owner, school helped me tremendously. There were so many weak points in my game. You would never think about how hard it is to send an email when you have never had any of that traditional training. Your writing skills, your business administration skills. These are all college classes that you can take and mean thousands of percent more to you when you know you want to become a contractor or a business owner versus being an 18-year-old, 19-year-old kid and just taking the classes and don't know where they apply. I'll say this again and again. College was a major factor in my success becoming a contractor. There's plenty of tradespeople who are stuck at the journey level, who cannot pass the business and finance test, the business and accounting test, who don't have the proper skills to study to pass and get a higher level of a license. And that's one of the things that going to a community college and enrolling in some business classes will help you with tremendously. So I would say you need to look at college and the trades as not two separate things, but as which one for you makes the most sense to step in first. If you have already been practicing and preparing yourself to be an engineer, go to school and become an engineer. When it comes to the trades, usually in each category, engineering is the highest level you can go. I still have to speak with an engineer when I work on jobs. I still have to speak with an architect when I work on jobs. I still have to speak with building officials. There's still uh, categories of jobs a part of this trade that you need to be in a college for. If you just want to go back and brush up on some skills, that's fine too. But I would say figure it out for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you not to get into the trades. Don't let anyone tell you not to go to college. Spend some time, reflect, and figure out what makes the most sense for you. If you want my expert opinion, they are both needed for real success, and especially for you guys and girls who are planning to turn your skills from the trades into a real business. There's so many connections you can make, there's so many things you can learn, and there's so many uh points that you can add on to your business that you'll learn in school, that you will gain from meeting people in school who could join in on your business. So don't look at it as a zero sum decision. Figure out which is the best first step for you, and figure out where the second step applies. And that is my advice for today. So if you like the message, please don't hesitate to subscribe. Wait for the next episode. Follow me on LinkedIn, Dantrell Felton, and follow us on YouTube. Create Recreate is our page, and we'll be out until the next time.